Hi everyone, today I'm gonna tell you the tale of Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time there were 4 little rabbits, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived underneath a big oak tree with their mother. One day their mother told them that, "My dears, I'm going out. You can go to the field or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there and he was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor." Then Mrs. Rabbit took her umbrella and her basket and went through the woods to the baker's shop to buy some bread and buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little rabbits, they went down the lane to pick some blackberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, went straight to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed himself underneath the gate. Once he was in the garden, he just started eating as much as vegetables as he could. First he ate some French beans, and then some radishes and some carrots and lettuces, and then he felt so sick they started looking for parsleys. But once he got around the cucumber frame, he saw Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting some cabbages, and he jumped up on his feet and started waving his rag at him and calling out, "Stop, thief!" But Peter started running, but because he was wearing his red shoes, he couldn't run as fast. He left one of his shoes among the cabbages and the other one among the potatoes, and once he lost his shoes, he started running faster. But he got caught by a gooseberry net. Mr. McGregor was after him with a sieve, and he wanted to place the sieve on Peter Rabbit. But Peter Rabbit just wiggled himself out and went inside the tool shed. He jumped into a watering can, and once Mr. McGregor was in the tool shed, he couldn't find him and started looking for him around. Peter just jumped out of the window and started running so fast. Mr. McGregor was so tired that he just didn't want to follow him anymore. But Peter was so tired and so frightened, and he didn't even know the way back to the gate. He started looking around. He found a door, but the door was locked and he couldn't squeeze himself underneath the door. He started crying. He saw this little mouse who was there, but his mouth was so full of peas, but he couldn't talk. Peter just started crying. He was so sad and frightened. He started walking around the garden. He saw a white cat, and the cat was staring at some fish in the pond. Peter didn't want to disturb him, so he just walked away. Then he starts hearing some noises. He heard scratch, scratch, scratch. Then when he looked, he found Mr. McGregor hoeing some onions, and behind him was the gate. As soon as he saw the gate, he started running as fast as he could. Mr. McGregor saw Peter, but Peter didn't care at all. He just got himself to the gate and squeezed underneath, and finally he was back in the woods and he was safe. Mr. McGregor hung his jacket and his shoes on a stick to make a scarecrow to scare off the blackbirds. Peter ran as fast as he could, and he didn't even look back. He just got himself to home, and as soon as he went home, he just fell down on the soft sand of the rabbit hole and he closed his eyes. He wasn't feeling good that night at all. His mom made some chamomile tea for him and gave him a few doses. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail sat down on a table and had blackberries, milk, and bread for supper. The end.